Well, thanks. It's an honor and privilege. They said to stay in the lit area. Everything got lit quickly. It's my honor and privilege to have a chance to be here with you today. I'm excited for the opportunity. I certainly don't think I've ever spoken in a hall that's quite this grand, and I hope I do it justice here today. I thought it was a little ironic. Andrew's up here talking about how do you motivate 61,000 people, and then he goes and gives a pep talk about how other guys are doing better in some parts of the market than we are. He gave me a pep talk just sitting backstage listening, I would say. What I want to talk to you about a little bit today is leadership, and just some thoughts about leadership, and frankly, because I would probably be disappointing everybody, myself, the folks who work for me, and all of you, I want to tie a little bit to some of the things that great leaders can do actually with technology to facilitate and empower and inspire the people that work for them. I have worked I think it's probably fair for me to say, I've worked for companies of more sizes than anybody maybe in the world, and certainly in the audience. I've had the privilege of working for a 30-person company, a 100-person company, a 1,000-person company, and a 61,000-person company. Now in my case, it's been the same company at all stages, but I think it's given me a lot of perspective that maybe I'll share on what it takes to really galvanize and excite an organization. And frankly, I find a lot of similarities in many aspects independent of the size of the company. The way you reach people, the way you touch people, that does vary as companies grow and they spread geographically. You build up subcultures of people inside the company. So there is evolution and there's change. There's no doubt about that. But some of the principles, I think, absolutely remain the same. We've been involved in some research with PwC here in the UK with business executives in smaller and medium-sized enterprises, and not surprisingly, 78% of business leaders here in the UK will say that people are their number one asset. I certainly will tell you that one of the things that was clear to Bill Gates before I joined Microsoft, and was certainly clear to Bill and I over the course of the last 26 years that we've worked together, is that people absolutely are our number one asset. No question. Starting from the very earliest days of my time at Microsoft, we actually recognized that a good programmer is about 10 times more productive than an average programmer. 10 times more productive than an average software developer. When you start with that as a kind of a ratio, a mindset, a framework, it means you've got to hunt out and find the best, the brightest, the most energetic, the most talented people around the world. And in some senses, whoops, that's the one I want up there right now. In some senses, I believe in this virtuous cycle. Great people make companies great. But I also believe that great companies attract great people. And so you get this kind of real momentum. You bring in great people, you let them do their best work, and then more great people want to come on board and join. The opposite, unfortunately, is also true. If you start losing success in the market, or you start losing great people, things will slow down on this flywheel. Great people, great performance, great people, great performance. And I'd say that's been really a hallmark of our view of what it takes to inspire people. So start with the two principles. If you want to have great people, what are we looking for? At Microsoft, we look for essentially two things. Number one, no, go back a slide. Let me control this, whoever's clicking on my slides. Thank you very much. It's funny. in a day of technology, now all I get to do is turn on lights for somebody backstage. They won't let me actually have the mouse in my own hand. We believe in two things for people. Number one, we look for people who share a common set of values. We believe, and we talk to our people about 6 core values: integrity, passion for technology, passion for customer is very important to us. We look for people who are open and respectful and dedicated to making others better. Software development is a collaborative exercise. Our company is a company that has literally hundreds of thousands of business partners around the globe. Our model is fundamentally one of collaboration. It's not necessarily the thing we're best at all times, but we emphasize it and stress it in our people. We look for people who are dedicated to self-improvement every day. How can I be better, 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 better? What did I do wrong? How do I improve? Relentless dedication to self-improvement. We want our people to show big, bold goals, to set big, bold goals, but nonetheless have a great sense of accountability. It turns out some of these things almost have a little bit of tension in them. How do you set big, bold goals, but then want to be very accountable? It's easier to set low goals if you want to be highly accountable. There's a tension, but that tension is, in a sense, the source of greatness, and we want people who confront that. How can you be dedicated to team, but still be relentlessly dedicated to self-improvement? But that's fundamental in our culture. Our culture is part of how we inspire people. Our culture is an important part of what we think lets our people and our company be great. The other thing we look for in our people, as I said, we look for people who are incredibly bright and incredibly hardworking. In any job in the company, I want to have somebody who is brighter and harder working than the guy who's doing their job at our competitor. If we do, in the long run, we're going to be okay. So that's the people environment. And in a sense, when you ask how do you inspire people, it partly does depend on what kind of a culture you're trying to create and what kind of people you're trying to inspire. Even inside Microsoft, frankly, we have subcultures. And let me just take 2 extremes. We've got salespeople and we've got engineers. Whenever we bring them in the room in the same time and you give them the same speech, you'll get different perspectives on exactly the same message from the 2 communities. You get up in front of a group of salespeople, it's, come on, let's go, let's take the hill. Gosh, we have great opportunities in front of us. You do the same thing in front of a group of engineers, you might get a little bit more, shall we say, cynical reaction. You got to sort of build from the reality up as opposed to from the hype down. But having people who share these values is key. The second part of this flywheel, great people, great company, sort of says, what does it take? What do the people have to believe the company's going to look like in order to want to come to the company and to make the company truly a great company? I recently had a retreat with all of our executive staff, top 100 of our people. We put out a memo in advance. And I was trying to talk about what the company would look like in the future. And we could have started with technologies, we could have started with financial goals, and I decided what we should really do is start with what are the key elements 10 years from now? What are the things that our people will get excited about, that will allow us to continue to attract great people who will make the company great, who will attract more great people? And I said, look, a great company, as seen through the eyes of our employees, will be a company that really is successful on the dimensions I list here. Number one, our people want to change the world. They want to know that the company is setting big, bold goals for what we call our innovation quests. And we spend a lot of time talking to our people, inspiring our people on how we change the world. Let me give you sort of a simple example. And you'll think it's small and it's trivial, but it's just one of maybe 60 of these quests that we use to inspire people. We've been talking a lot in the world about the paperless office. We've been talking about how newspapers are going to be read online. There's more paper consumed and printed and used today than there was 10 years ago. Why? We haven't made software and hardware and computers that actually make reading on the computer a superior experience to reading on the screen. That's a quest. That's an important mission for our technologists over the course of the next 10 years. There are literally dozens of people, maybe hundreds of people at Microsoft who are inspired by that quest. Our people care passionately about our agility. They want to see that we're fast moving in the marketplace. Not that we are fast at the expense of doing important longer-term work, but they want to see that we have the flexibility and nimbleness and agility to do what it takes to succeed. Our long-term commitment to Windows made it succeed. It was a form of agility. Our ability to turn our ship and really compete successfully to do great innovation in internet browsing inspired our people. And today people are asking, how are we going to do with some of our new business challenges? How are we going to do competing with Sony, with Xbox? How are we going to do in the mobile category, competing with Palm and Nokia and BlackBerry and other people like that? How are we going to do in the competitions that Andrew talked about on the internet? And we've got to be nimble and agile and quick. And when we're not, boy, do I hear it from our people. To be a great company, at least in our industry, people want to know that we're leading big changes. We're not following them. The move of software to the internet is a big change. We have a big initiative we call our Live initiative. Our people want to see that leadership. Great people in general, not just in our industry, great people want to work with winning institutions. Whatever it means to say you're winning. And I think winning has to include this notion not only of getting a lot of customers, but keeping them very happy. About 4 or 5 years ago, we had the start of a real set of issues around security on the internet and with Windows. And our people, to believe in our company, to be inspired by our company, needed to see that we cared as much about satisfying our customers as about getting new customers. Great companies apparently need to grow. Now, as a financial thinker, that doesn't necessarily make sense to me. If you told me I could own shares in a company that was never going to grow, but it was going to deliver a lot of profit, according to Andrew, and it was going to not have huge capital investment, that sounds pretty good. But our employees want to work for a great company, and a great company grows. So we continue to expand our thinking about the areas in which we want to participate, set quests, and grow. Great people want to feel like they have a great deal with the company. That might mean compensation, that might be work environment, it might be work hours, it might be office space. We spend a lot of time constantly reviewing the deal, if you will, that we put in front of our employees. I don't think people ever really stay excited and motivated by their deal, but they're easily demotivated by their deal. And of course, great people want great leadership. And it takes great leadership to have a great company. Andrew was mentioning to me that Jack Welch has spoken here on a couple times and talked about the way GE tries to, or does a TRIT, what should I say, involuntarily terminate 10% of their people a year. The key thing we focus in on actually is making sure that we're applying the discipline of involuntarily terminating executives. You can't just look at the lower level people. You've got to ask every day, do we have the right leaders? Are we promoting the right people? Are we moving on the right people out of our leadership team? Because it's just so important for the kind of culture and greatness to which we and our people aspire. I think everybody in this room, and certainly, as we said, statistically, 78% of UK business executives will tell you people are their number one asset. People drive business outcomes. It's not software or computer systems or leaders. Every day, the people who work for you come to work and they deliver business outcomes. People improve customer relations. People figure out how to take cost and put quality into operations. People collaborate with one another to drive new ideas, new products, new services, innovation. People build connections between your firms and the suppliers and business partners that you work with. In each and every one of these cases, I will tell you, we think information technology can assist your people. And believe me, at Microsoft, part of the way we inspire our folks is by investing in the tools and technologies that really tell them they are our number one asset. You know, you go to work at, we just hired to be our chief operating officer, the former CIO from Walmart, largest employer in the world, largest revenue in the world, one of the most sophisticated supply chains. You ask, how do they do it? What's the key? A lot of people will talk about their computer systems. The key thing they did in their computer systems, they opened them up so that people, the buyers in their own company, so that the people selling to them at other companies could just see so much more data about what was going on, what was selling at Walmart, what was in inventory. And they essentially turned the systems inside out. They didn't say the computers are going to solve our inventory problem. The computers are going to give visibility to everybody along the way to the information they need to improve in-stocks and merchandise selection in our stores. And you see that over and over and over again in great businesses. It's not about the computers taking care of the problems. It's about the computers facilitating people who drive these kinds of important business outcomes. I do think that information technology and software definitely play a role. They play a role in all of these outcomes. Let me just take a few of the things on this slide. Supporting teamwork. Microsoft builds software in Seattle. We build software in San Francisco. We build it in Fargo, North Dakota. We build it in Israel and North Carolina. We build it at a research lab here in Cambridge. We build it in Copenhagen. We build it in China. We build it in India. We build it on Long Island in New York. Boy, we build software in a lot of places. How do you build software effectively in so many places and allow people to cooperate with one another, solve problems in different places, brainstorm, etc.? Tools help. Communications tools, collaboration tools help a lot. I was thinking back, I noticed one of the speakers later today is a Procter & Gamble person. My only other prior work experience was at Procter & Gamble, and I was thinking through how we used to prepare quarterly forecasts at Procter & Gamble, because we're just going through our quarterly forecast exercise at Microsoft. Collaborating today is a lot easier. As I sat in the hotel room here in London at about midnight last night, collaborating on our quarterly forecast, I thanked goodness for the tools that we now have to use and work. So supporting teamwork is essential in many ways. I'm not going to talk about compliance except to say I think it's more important in business today than it was 5 or 10 years ago. Regulatory compliance, Sarbanes-Oxley in the United States. Facilitating insights. Facilitating insights. People need to get the information they need to make a decision. Let me give an example that perhaps is a little bit off kilter. When I started at Microsoft, most banks would think of their tellers in some senses as not very important parts of their organization. just people standing there on the front line. Now, every bank I talk to around the world is talking about how do they give better software support to those tellers. Those tellers are their salespeople. Every day, whenever somebody walks into a bank branch, they want to have enough information in front of that teller for the teller to sell them something new, sell them another product, get out in front of them, make money for the bank. But that means you've got to facilitate insight, even for that frontline teller in the bank. How do you give them the information they need to know what to sell the next person? Again, IT and software can support it. Process excellence. Information visibility, mobile access. Small show of hands, how many people in this audience have something with them that allows them to access email? Not just a phone, but something that lets you access email on your presence with you. It's just an example. I'm not saying you should be reading email during the middle of my speech, but it is yet another example of how we want to facilitate people collaborating, communicating, anywhere, anytime, and in any way. And I do think people, certainly people at Microsoft, and I think people in most organizations will look. They will see, do you walk the walk, as they say, in terms of really treating people as your number one asset. It's something like 30% of UK businesses will say they don't think IT and software has anything to do with improving the productivity of their people. But people look at this stuff. I'll just give you a small example. Can you imagine what it'd be like to try to hire a young person right out of school today and tell them they didn't get a PC and they didn't have email when they started working for you? Yet if you go back even 5, 6, 7 years ago, we had customers that didn't believe in email. And those people did have trouble recruiting folks. We were trying to make a sale in the mid-90s to one of the largest, one of the 4 large banks here in the United Kingdom. We were trying to sell them our exchange mail product, trying really hard. And I'd worked selling myself with the CIO, and I thought I was doing really well, and we were competing with IBM, and it was rough out there. Boom, I get a call from him. Steve, we're not going with you. I was crestfallen. I said, we lost, huh? We lost to IBM. He said, no. I said, who else came out of the woodwork? Where did the new competitor come from? No new competitor. I said, what are you going to do? Nothing. I said, nothing? How can you do nothing? He says, I've decided that the senior people in our bank won't use email, so the junior people won't use email, so we're not going to install email. It's since changed. I won't, the names have been changed to protect the innocent, so to speak, in this speech. But it was really flabbergasting. And yet I know that there were literally thousands of people in that company who made decisions about what kind of company they were working for by how the company was investing in their productivity and in their efficacy. So 78% of businesses in the UK say people are number one. But only 39% equip people really with the IT to do their jobs better. So I don't know what your particular way is of inspiring people in your companies. Ask yourself, each and every one, what's our formula? Is it going to start with values? Does it start with a great company and what does it take to make your company great and a vision of how to get there? Does it start with service excellence? Does it start with personal charisma? Wherever it starts, if people are your number one asset, ask yourself the question, do your people see visible signs of investment in them? And is there, I would say, a role for technology to play in helping you empower those people to really get full productivity out of your number one asset? I appreciate your time here with me today at this IOD forum. I thank Andrew again and everybody else from the IOD. I'll look forward. I guess we're going to have a lively question and answer session. But it's sure been my honor and privilege to be here today. I wish you all the very best of luck. Thanks.